In this video I will show you how I debug Android and iOS apps in production. Nothing fancy going on, just inspecting logs. I will start with native logs and then continue with Crashlytics and Sentry integration. To see local logs from USB connected iOS device, open Xcode, Windows devices and simulators, select your device and click to open console. Select start to stream logs. You will see a lot of logs, but you can filter by your process. In my example, there's no exception logs, but it might be useful if you were to say implementing React Native purchases. You can use this to debug why RevenueCat is not working. And to debug your Android, see the local logs, you would use ADB logcat and narrow it down to your package. And these are the local logs from my device. But if you have an issue that you can't connect, your device is connected over USB, but ADB logcat is just not connecting, you can go to your device and go to USB debugging and revoke USB debugging authorizations, which will effectively restart it. Next time you connect, it will ask you again to authorize and ADB should connect to your device. Crashlytics versus Sentry. You can use both, but lately I decided only to use Sentry, and I'll explain why. Crashlytics is free and you can use it if you are already in the Firebase ecosystem. I made a video on how to integrate Firebase for native and web, so check it out. If you're not already using Firebase, honestly I think it's overkill and you're better off with Sentry. It's free and great for native crashes, very simple to integrate, but bad thing is there are no source map and there is no plan to add source map support. So the errors that you see are quite cryptic. Compared to Sentry, I remember I had a case where Crashlytics caught the native crash and Sentry didn't. Although Sentry can also catch native crashes. I don't remember which case, I don't remember when, but from my fuzzy memory, Crashlytics is slightly better at catching native crashes. And I don't have a bad things to say about Sentry. It's also free up to a point. It's like 5k errors every month and you get source map supports and detailed stack trace. Sentry is more detailed. What does it mean for your app? You should state all of that in your privacy policy and data collection in the Play Console and App Store. For integrating Crashlytics, go to your Firebase project, see if it is enabled. If not, enable it and download the Google service files for iOS and Android. Go back to code. I am using React Native Firebase. Since I already have the Firebase integration in place, I only need the Crashlytics, and in my case I am using the 21.13.0. So Crashlytics needs to be included in the Expo app configuration in the plugins. And that's it, it's already integrated. But to test the native crash, you can go for example to layout, import the Crashlytics, and we can crash over here. And I need to rebuild the app because this introduces some native code. And if I try to open the app, it will crash and I should see the crash in Firebase in the Crashlytics. And turns out that Crashlytics is not reporting, and this is where native logs are very useful. So I connected to my emulator through ADB logcat, and this is the error that I'm getting. The Crashlytics build ID is missing. There are also cases when Android is just crazy, so best to uninstall the app, remove anything Android and iOS, and try again. And one more thing that I forgot to add is that Crashlytics is by default disabled in the development mode, and you can create a Firebase JSON file that contains flags for React Native Firebase. And try opening this up, it will fail, and I can now inspect the logs over here, and the information I get in the exception stack trace is useless, but at least I get what kind of OS version of Android, version of the app, and you can also add your own information. But for now I want to remove this from the use effect and create a new button, and that button will be, and I will set the attribute, for example testing, and that should be enough. When I press the crash, it should crash the app, and my next log should be here. And I can see the set attribute in keys. There's also logs and breadcrumbs. It should collect by default your navigation, but you can also set other breadcrumbs. You can log somewhere in your app. It doesn't need to be here. It can be on the start of screen and then log your message. And then when the Crashlytic crashes or you record the error, it should collect all of those logs, breadcrumbs, and you should be able to see them in here. So if you look at that, it is very useful, but just looking at stack trace, not. If I try to make it work for the web, it will not work because Crashlytics is only for native. So I need to remove the direct call to Crashlytics over here and call it from Firebase. I have a polyfill for the web, and instead of this, I need to type it for my Firebase module. It will be Crashlytics and this, and Firebase web will be Crashlytics. I would now need to duck type it. So it was log record error and also the crash, and that should be enough. So let's see how it looks like. It no longer works, but if I take a look at the metro, I need to alias the tslib for the web, the config resolver, resolve quest is equal to this, and restarting the server. And when I try again, nothing should crash. Crash will not report anything to Crashlytics. And now for the Sentry. To use Integrate Sentry, go to Sentry or create your account and go to Projects New, select React Native and create the project. And now you can go to the project and install Sentry React Native. Update the app configuration. You will need to add one more plugin configuration. It is called Sentry React Native Expo. My organization will be Sentry Organization, and my project will be called React Native, but I will rather put it in the process environment, and it will not go into the .env environment. It doesn't need to go there. It will go to my dir-env environment, and dir-env environment has nothing to do with Expo. It's a useful tool to have environments per folder, and I advise that you install it. It is very useful. My Sentry project is called React Native, and I will load it with my dir-env, and it should be here. So Sentry is enabled for this project, and now I need to initialize it in the code. And I initialize it in the code. I like to do it in the layout. Expo public Sentry DSN, that one needs to be in the environment. And you can find the Sentry DSN by going to your project settings, and in the sidebar scroll down to SDK setup, and you should find it in the client keys SDN. So this I will copy over here. It's very much important to wrap the root layout so it catches all issues, and I think we are good. If I go back to that button, I will add another button and add the Sentry log. My Sentry will capture exception, that is called and that's it. Oh, one more thing, you'll need to change the Metro bundler config for Sentry, and it looks like this. The default config is this one, get Sentry Expo config, and module exports will be merging the config that I changed and get Sentry Expo config of the project. Okay, and this should now work. I think this is enough. And my Sentry log is sent. When I click this button, Sentry log, it takes a while, maybe 10 seconds for the error to appear. but I got my error over here. And the Sentry information contains a lot more info than Crashlytics does. And you also see the breadcrumbs, what preceded this error. So it's also useful, it's not always the fault of the exact line where the error is reported, but sometimes it's something that preceded that error. And one more thing, you probably want source maps being reported production, and that's why you need to set up one more environment variable, and it is called the Sentry authentication token. You can find it in settings, organization tokens, create new token, and save it in the, for example, I save it in the NRC, and this should not be git committed. And this token is very much important for your build to succeed, otherwise you will get build errors if the Sentry out token is not successful. Of course, it will work when you're testing on native, it will work for the web, but once you try building for iOS or Android, it will fail until this one is set. Okay, this covers integration of logging Crashlytics and Sentry in the Expo app. I also showed you how to look at the native logs for Android and iOS. I hope this video was useful, and thank you for watching.